Hi, I'm Tom Glaser. Thanks for joining in today. I thought I would give an introduction to some of the basic poses for folks who maybe are a little bit newer to yoga. This is inspired by an actual student who asked me to demonstrate first and then take him through. So that's exactly what we'll do. I'll just lead and talk you through some of the most basic poses and then just join in whenever you want. I'll go through them each twice. All right, so let's begin. Why don't we start on our hands and knees? So this is one of the starting points for a lot of different poses. It's called table. You'll notice the wrists are right below the shoulders and the knees are right below the hips. And if this is too much for your wrists, it's just fine to go on your fists. And the fists can be in whatever position is most comfortable for you. And then as for the feet, they can be tucked. That's usually how I prefer. That just feels more stable to me. Or a lot of times you'll see the tops of the feet flat against the mat or the earth. And so again, why don't you join me now? We're going to come into table with your wrists below your shoulders and your knees below your hips. And from here, the most basic is a cat and cow sequence. And again, now you might just watch. On the in-breath, I'm going to arch my breath and look up. And on the out-breath, I round my back and look down. And then coming back to neutral. Here, the spine, you'll notice, is lengthened. It's like energy is going out through the crown of my head, and energy is going out through the base of my spine. So always thinking of that, lengthening the spine. Okay, so again, if you haven't already, perhaps join me this time. I'm going to breathe in and arch my back and look up. Breathe out, round my back, and look down. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale, round and look down. And often this is repeated a good number of times, and you just want to follow your own breath. Exhale, coming down. Inhale, coming up, and then meeting back in neutral with that elongated spine of integrity. Energy shoots out through the top of my head. Energy shoots out through the base of my spine, so imagining that line. And from here, we'll move into a downward dog. So I tuck my toes. I'm going to lift my knees and shoot the hips up toward the sky. Straightening the elbows and the knees as much as possible. If that's not possible, it's possible for you. If it's not comfortable in your body, it's just fine to keep the knees a little bit bent. And then often we do what's called pedaling here. With pedaling, one knee is bent and the toe is just a little bit up. You don't have to lift your toes, but I'm exaggerating to make the point. And then we reverse, then the other knee gets bent. So we're just pedaling it out. That invites one heel to come a little closer, or some of us can actually touch the floor or the mat. It's just fine if you don't go all the way. You don't want to overdo it. So this is the pedaling part of downward dog. And then this is downward dog in stillness. Just bringing the heels toward the ground. Knees, again, can be bent if that's more comfortable. But you're always focusing on shooting those hips up toward the sky. And you want your neck nice and loose, so I'm nodding, shaking, and always remembering to breathe. So we'll come back down into table. And now join in if you haven't already. So I'm breathing in I'm lifting my hips up toward the sky. I'm releasing my neck. I'm pedaling it out by releasing one knee and then the other. Always shooting those hips up toward the sky. After pedaling it a few times, let's come to stillness, bringing both heels toward the earth, really centered through all corners of your hands, releasing any tension in your neck. Taking nice, big, deep breaths. Great job. That's down dog. So from here, it's very common to do what's called a three-legged dog. And so I'm going to lift my right foot up toward the sky. This is three-legged dog for obvious reasons. All right, so let's just try that much together. So from a down dog, really firming in through those other three limbs, lifting the right up toward the sky. It's that simple. This is where it gets a little trickier. When from three-legged dog, there's all kinds of things we do. Here's one of my favorites, is to bring the knee in toward the earth, as close to in between the hands as I can, and then releasing that back leg and coming down. So this is what we call a pigeon pose. And often for beginners, you gotta shift a little bit and move things around so that you're comfortable. This is a fantastic stretch through the hips. So let's go back and try that together. So from downward dog, lifting the right foot up into three-legged dog, planting that knee as close as you can. It doesn't matter where you land. You might land here or here or here. Wherever you are, just shift back. Give yourself that nice stretch. Landing the hands, you might just help this lower foot come out a little bit. Planting the hands. And then you might arch your back and look up a little too. Into a pigeon. Really breathing into the stretch. Now you can come down. It's no problem to stay up, but some people really like to come down into this version of pigeon. There's disagreement as to whether this counts as true pigeon or not. Some people call it dead pigeon. It doesn't really matter what you call these poses. Do them if they feel good. Do something else if it doesn't feel good. Always following your own body. We yoga instructors, we're just the guides. I'm going to come back up. I'm going to bring my leg up, back into three-legged dog. Just kind of for some symmetry. You don't actually have to, but we're meeting back in downward dog. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. So planting in the other three limbs, lifting that left foot all the way up toward the sky. Inhale, bring the knee as close to in between the thumbs as you can. Again, it doesn't really matter where you land because you're going to lift your rear leg and slide back. And just get your balance wherever you are. Well, actually, let's do up first into true pigeon. Arching the back a little bit if that's comfortable for you. Looking up if that's comfortable. Always taking care of the neck. It's just fine to look down or forward if that works better in your body. And if you want, come on down and stay up. These are options. Wherever you are, continuing to breathe easily and naturally. Ready? tucking the back leg, inviting front one up, back into three-legged, back into downward dog. Now, let's invite the knees down, back into table. And from here, we'll move into child's pose. So I'm bringing the toes together, the tops of the feet are back on the ground, and then I'm inviting gently and slowly the hips toward the feet, and extending the arms in front of me. So again, from table into child's pose. So here's table. Toes are together, the tops of the feet are on the mat. Just gently inviting the hips down toward the heels. The crown of the head on the mat, if that's available to you. You can also stack your hands or your fists, if you like. You don't come all the way down. Or you can use a block. No judgment, there's nothing wrong. You're still doing yoga even when you use props. Another option here that I really like some days, I alternate. There's days I love child's pose as we just did it. Sometimes it feels really good to me to to spread the knees as wide as the mat. It's just a whole different sensation. Again, the crown of the head, that's the forehead, comes to the mat. And just take a few good deep breaths there. Well, thanks for joining me, yogis. What a pleasure to be with you today. That's a basic introduction for newbies to some of the really basic poses. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll look for you on the next one.